It's Maths O'Clock with Mr. Hlajwayo. Welcome to another video.
Greetings, good people. It's Maths O'Clock. So today we are going to be looking at quadrilaterals, right? So firstly, we are going to understand what are quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals are all these four-sided figures. All the four-sided figures are considered what? Quadrilaterals. Okay. So these are some of the things that you've learned from the previous years, but they are of the greatest importance for you to understand the grade 10 Euclidean geometry. Okay. So now we are going to firstly understand the different types of shapes. We are going to start with your basic shapes. Your basic being your square, right? Being your square shape, understand its properties, right? Firstly, we know that from our square consists of all the four sides that are equal, right? So from the properties of your square, you are having four equal sides, right? So all the sides are equal. One thing that we also have within our square is that for our square we have this angle which all of them are equal to 90 degrees, right? So all the corner angles of your square are equal to 90 degrees and all of them are equal, right? So we have all the angles which are equal to 90 degrees. All the angles which are equal to 90 degrees. And one thing that we also have when it comes to our square is that, for example, now if you have your diagonals, let's say now you have your diagonals, and remember what are diagonals? Diagonals are basically those lines, right? And those lines that cut your four-sided figure into two equal halves, right? Diagonals are those lines which cut your four-sided figure into two equal halves, right? So all your diagonals of your square, they are going to be equal in length. One thing that you also need to take note is that your diagonals are equal, right? Are equal, and they are going to be perpendicular to each other. So by perpendicular, I mean now they cut each other at a 90 degree, right? So which means they are perpendicular. Diagonals are also they are also perpendicular to each other, which means they cut each other at a 90 degree. One thing that you also need to know about your square is that now all these angles, this angle and this angle, this angle and this angle, or literally all your angles are going to be equal to your 45 degrees, which means now your diagonals also bisect the angles here within your corner, right? So all these angles are going to be bisected, right? And so which means now we say now your diagonals bisect your angles in the corner or at the corner, right? So which means now, what do we know about that? Now if you bisect a 90 degree, which means what are you then going to have? You're going to have all of them are going to be equal to what? 45 degrees, yes. All of them are going to be equal to 45 degrees. The last thing that you need to also take note about your square is that now all this, so this pair are going to be perpendicular to each other. Are they perpendicular? No, they are parallel to each other. Okay, so this line and also this line is parallel to each other. This one and also this one, they are parallel to each other. So you're going to say now the sides are parallel to each other, right? Are parallel to each other. So all the sides are going to be parallel to each other. So these are some of the basics when it comes to understanding your square shape, right? So now let's move swiftly along to now your rectangle, right? Let's move to your rectangle. Remember, these are some of the things that you've learned in your previous grade, either being your grade 8 and also your grade 9, right? So now, what are the first things that we know about your rectangle? You know, firstly, that the opposite sides are equal. All these opposite sides are equal to each other, right? So the sides, the two opposite sides are equal to each other. So you're going to say there's two opposite sides. Opposite sides are equal to each other. Are equal to each other. So which means this, let's say this is 4 centimeter. This one is also going to be 4 centimeters. Similarly, this one, let's say it's 1,5 centimeter. This one is also going to be 1,5 centimeter. Altogether. Now, one thing that you also need to know is that all the corner angles, your angles are equals. Your angle are equals to 90 degrees. All your corner angles are going to be equals to your 90 degree. One thing that you also need to take note is that the opposite sides, these opposite sides are parallel to each other. Right? So the opposite sides are parallel to each other. The opposite sides are going to be parallel to each other. One thing that you also need to know about your rectangle is that now if you have your diagonals, all your diagonals are going to be equal in length. We are saying now your opposite sides. So your opposite sides are what are equal to each other, and your opposite sides are also parallel to each other. Right? Now we are saying now if you have your diagonals are going to be equal in length. So your diagonals are going to be equal to each other. Your diagonals are equal. So all your diagonals are going to be equal. One thing that you also need to take note is that now, similarly, now your diagonals are going to bisect all of these angles, right? So which means your corner angles are going to be equal to 45 degrees because they are going to be bisected by your diagonals. Okay. And another thing that you need to also take note is that now your diagonals are perpendicular. Your diagonals are going to be perpendicular to each other, which means they meet. When they meet, they form a 90 degree where your diagonals meet altogether. And now, so we are going to swiftly move along to now our next shape. Now let's say we look at now our rhombus, right? And let's say we look at our rhombus. Let me draw it nicely. Our rhombus. So if we look at our rhombus, usually I regard it as a tilted square, right? So that you understand that some of the characteristics of your rhombus are going to be what? Are going to be same as the characteristics that you have with your square. Okay. So now, if this is your rhombus, one thing that you need to take note from your square, you are also having 4 sides that are equal. Or all sides are equal. All your sides are equal, right? Now, all these pairs of opposite sides are also going to be what? Now, these opposite sides also are going to be what? Are going to be parallel to each other, right? So now the opposite sides are parallel. Are parallel to each other, which means this line is parallel to this one, this other one is parallel to this other one, right? One thing that you also need to take note is that now, apart from this, remember this, you had your 4 corner angles being equal to 90 degrees. In this case, they are not equal to 90 degrees, but this angle and this angle is going to be equal to each other, right? So we are going to say the opposite angles are equal. Your opposite angles are equal, which means this angle also, this angle here, and also this angle here are going to be equal to each other. Now, let's say now you have your diagonals. So if you have your diagonals, let's say you have your diagonals now, right? And we agreed that diagonals are those lines that bisect your quadrilateral into 2 equal shapes, right? Or into 2 equal halves, I mean. So now your what your diagonals do is that they bisect each other, right? So by bisection, which means now this side is going to be equal to this side, and this side is going to be equal to this side, right? So the diagonals bisect each other. So these are some of the characteristics that you are going to take note when it comes to your rhombus, right? Remember, this is your rhombus. This is your rhombus shape. Now, when we then look at another shape which is almost similar to this one, then we are going to check what is then your the shape that is the same with your rectangle. What do we call that shape? Just to see whether you are still your parallelogram, right? So basically your parallelogram is also what we call your tilted rectangle, right? So which means some of the characteristics from this are going to be the same with this one, right? Starting with these opposite sides being equal to each other. Okay. So we are saying now the opposite sides are what? Are equal in length. We are just saying now they are equal in length, right? So we are saying we are regarding this to this is our what? Our parallelogram, right? So one thing that we also take note of is that now from here, these opposite angles are going to be what? The opposite angles are going to be what in this case? Your opposite angles are going to be equal. Are equal. So which means this angle is equals to this angle, right? So one thing that you also need to take about these sides, this side is going to be parallel to this side, this other one is going to be parallel to this other one. Okay. So these sides are also going to be parallel to each other. And then now, if let's say you are having your diagonals. So when you have your diagonals, well drawn here, then you are going to your diagonals, what they are going to do is that they are going to bisect each other. Your diagonals are going to bisect each other. So your diagonals bisect. Your diagonals bisect. So these are some of the properties when it comes to your parallelogram. And you need to take note that some of the characteristics of your parallelogram are going to be the same with the characteristics of your rectangle, right? Now let's now move swiftly along to our different shape. Now let's look at your trapezium. Now let's say you are given your trapezium. So from what you have learned, basically your trapezium consists of these one characteristics. It's that this is trapezium. Your trapezium basically have these characteristics that the opposite side, the one pair of opposite sides, one pair of opposite sides are going to be equal. This one pair of opposite sides are going to be equal when it comes to your trapezium. Now another shape that we are then going to look at, we are going to now examine your kite. So now firstly, we are going to start with understanding what are the properties of your kite. Your properties of your kite. Now firstly, what you need to know is that the adjacent side, remember adjacent, which means the side next to it, right? Your adjacent sides are equal. Your adjacent sides are equal. Your adjacent sides are equal. And another thing that you need to take note about the properties of a kite is that now, this angle, or rather this angle is going to be equal to this angle. Once again, so your angles are going to be the same. So these angles are going to be the same. Similarly, this angle here is going to be equal to that particular angle over there. Now, which means the opposite angles are equal. Your opposite angles are equal. One thing that you then now need to also take note of is that now your diagonals, the diagonals of your kite, they are perpendicular to each other. So if this is your kite, the diagonals of your kite are perpendicular. When I say perpendicular, which means they cut each other now at a 90 degree. So your diagonals are perpendicular. The diagonals are perpendicular, which means they form a 90 degree here, right? Similarly, which means this is your 90 degrees, this is your 90 degrees, and also this is your 90 degrees, and also this is your 90 degrees. Out here. And now from there, one thing that you also need to take note about your diagonal is that it bisects only one pair, which means now this pair is going to be equal to, or rather this side is going to be equal to this side, right? So this is going to be, only these sides are going to be bisected, which means now one pair is bisected. One pair of the side is bisected. And now, after that, one thing that you need to take note is that now your diagonals also now bisect your corner angles. Now, the diagonals, what the diagonals do basically is that now they also bisect these corner angles, right? So which means all of these corner angles are going to be equal. Let's say this is 30 degrees, this is also going to be 30 degrees. Okay. So basically the diagonals also bisect your kite. So these are some of the properties of a kite that you need to take note of.